Shut up and sit down.
Hello everybody and welcome to the very first episode in this brand new series, The Gamma Legacy. That's right, me, ScottBGaming, will be playing the World of Mixed Martial Arts 4. We'll be playing as Gamma. I'll be basically in these episodes showing you a show per episode. The hirings I've made behind the scenes, I'll keep it relatively quiet. I mean, you'll see in the shows who exactly I've brought in and whatnot. I will say that I've slightly edited the database that comes with the game, and for those who haven't played it, it is a fantastic game. Highly recommend it. A link to the Greydog Software forums will be down there as well, which has got its own section for the World of Mixed Martial Arts 4 game. Check it out, make sure you do. The tweaks I basically made was, I think the database is relatively small, so what I've done is I've used the mass import for the workers, and I've kind of added several characters that are all yet to debut, randomized. I mean, the across the entire gaming world, so it covers pretty much all the nationalities, and it's a random spread of good people and bad people. So, you know, just add a bit of depth to the game that as it goes on. As you can probably tell from the fact that I called it the Gamma Legacy, I'll be playing this save as Gamma, my favourite company in the data. Haven't played WMMA4 for quite a while now, so I'm looking forward to getting back into this. I've booked the first show, which is Gamma 40, Foster versus Boyer 2, and in fact what I think I'll do, I might add a little jazzy little, I don't know, thumbnail for this video. It's pre-editing, I haven't decided yet, and I think also, that's right, yes, there will be different music at the beginning of the video. That as well, thanks for noticing. Yeah, got it yesterday. What? No. There'll be new music, and it's just kind of a new vibe. It's something that I enjoy playing, so hopefully you guys will enjoy watching it as well. If there's anything you think I'm overlooking or you want me to kind of cover in a bit more depth, let me know, and obviously in the comments below, and I'll get back to you on that, and obviously I'll take that into consideration when we do the future videos. So, as you'll probably be able to tell as well, actually it's not on that list, but I'll be booking months in advance as well, because obviously the fighters will need that for their preparation time and the fight camps and what have you. But for now, we'll just be covering Gamma 40, Foster versus Boyer 2. Not the deepest of cards, but then again, I hadn't yet made the signings are required. Little bit of a sneak preview, I guess, for you. Eventually, I'll be expanding into the featherweight and flyweight divisions, but not quite yet. That'll probably be in a few shows' time. So something to keep your eyes open for, certainly. And yeah, let's get cracking on with this, shall we? Okay, you may notice some of the renders are different from that as set in the game. It's some of the characters that I've made myself I kind of prefer to the originals, and that's not a slight on the original characters. It's just I don't know, spent the time putting the effort into making them, so I might as well use them at least for myself. So anyway, that's what I'm doing, and you'll probably be able to guess that by Mr. James Boyer. James Boyer, who the James Foster, the current defending Gamma Heavyweight Champion. The show's taking place in Nevada. Yeah, obviously we want to watch this. So you can see the main card fights there. Obviously that'll be broken down in a sec, so don't need to worry about that. So we'll go to start show. Okay, so welcome to Blurcat's pre-show analysis of Gamma 40 Foster versus Boyer 2 being held in Nevada. This is the first Gamma show of 2001. We're due to have 5 main fights plus 5 preliminary bouts, excuse me. Headlining, what is wrong with me today? Headlining is James Foster with a record of 35 wins, 4 losses and 1 draw with an 8-0 Gamma record, taking on the challenger Tim Boyer, 26 wins, 4 losses, 2 draws with a 6-2 Gamma record, and this will be of course for the Gamma heavyweight title. Elsewhere on the show we'll be seeing Gamma's number 12 ranked middleweight, the Executioner Martin DeVry, who lost a unanimous decision to Stuart Strange in his previous fight at Gamma 38 Sugar vs Hilton. Gamma's 7th ranked welterweight, the showstopper Jack Humphreys, who lost a unanimous decision to Julio Reguero in his previous fight at Gamma 14, Reguero vs Humphreys. Gamma's 8th ranked light heavyweight, Anthony Livewire Latuzier, returns for the first time since getting knocked out by Marlon John at Gamma 33, Reguero vs Kendall. Gamma 10th ranked middleweight, Dexter D-Man Darling, makes his return after being stopped by Toro Mizwa at Gamma 39, Dean vs Ripley in his last fight. So a lot of redemption fights for this card, I think it's fair to say. Still, a lot of top-ranked fighters will be competing at this event, so it's something that we're certainly looking forward to getting stuck into. Okay. Okay, I won't go into too much of the breakdown, but here we go. We've got James Foster taking on Tim Boyer. That's going to be the main event. They obviously previously fought at Gamma Battle Lines 1, which Foster won by unanimous decision, and he is the favourite going into this bout. Okay, the co-main event is Anthony Livewire Letizier taking on Kendall the Gambler Tracy. The Executioner Martin DeVry takes on Dexter D-Man Darling. The Showstocker Jack Humphreys goes up against Magnum David Allen, and that is in the welterweight division. The super heavyweights will then be on showcase with Seb Moorhead taking on Hanley the Great White Poulter. I expect that to be quite a dull affair. Ashley the Tiger Ballard will take on the Mac Attack Petey Mac. H.M. Menzel will take on the Cleveland Stormer Moss Gilbert in the lightweight division. Tony the Spider McCall takes on Stormin Norman Pike in a heavyweight outing. John Rivero, or John the Ripper Rivero, will take on Derek Smashmouth South, two relatively popular light heavyweights. And another super heavyweight outing as Benoit Lavoie takes on Peter Bigfoot Windsor. And that is the entirety of the card. So without any further ado, there we go. Keep it professional, Scott. That's what the people like. We'll get stuck in with the show. Okay, so the first fight is Benoit Lavoie against Peter Bigfoot Windsor. We'll do it on the timer here. The referee is Harry A. Bierce. And here we go. Both fighters step into strike. Okay, actually I'm going to take it off stop timer because I don't like it. Right. Lavoie uses a right jab. Okay. Right. They engage in the centre. I would expect Peter Windsor to be winning this one. Lavoie uses a right jab and also hits a right kick to the leg. Windsor uses a left jab but doesn't connect with the right hand. Both fighters meet in the centre. Windsor doesn't connect with a left jab but lands. So it's a lot of missed strikes early on in this fight. Moving to the second half of the round. Neither fighter is really sticking it to the other. Lavoie catches there, but Windsor scores with a few more. Yeah, I'm not really seeing... I don't probably see a finish in this one, but I think Windsor's getting just the better of the exchange thus far. Time's up and that's the end of round one. Although the game would have Lavoie coming out just ahead on the scorecard. I don't know if I agree with that. Windsor hits a left jab and also lands a left kick to the body. So Windsor's mixing it up a bit more. He's bringing a bit more diversity to the table with his approach to the striking. Again, we're looking at Windsor hitting more than Lavoie is. Looks like it's very much going to be a striking affair, and you'd expect that with a kickboxer and a taekwondo practitioner. Yeah, use that word. Lavoie lands a right jab, but is wide of the mark on a head kick attempt. Engage in the centre. Windsor lands... Yeah, it didn't sound right the way I went to say that. Windsor lands a left jab, but doesn't connect with the right hand. But Lavoie hits a pretty hefty strike in that exchange. And Lavoie seems to be coming into it a bit more in this. A lot of missed strikes. It's a bit of a sloppy stand-up affair, this. So Windsor misses with a left jab, but launches. There we go. Launches a right head kick that did damage. So, you know, Lavoie might be on his way down. Nope, that's how it ends. Again, they think Lavoie just about edged it. It could very well go to a split decision, which will be the first that you guys will see. How excited are we for a split decision, people? So they think Windsor's down by 2 rounds. I think probably more accurately it'd be 1-1, but... Windsor started to score again. Doesn't connect with the right hand. Lavoie misses a jab, but hits a glancing blow with a high kick. Two fighters engage. Windsor hits a jab, but doesn't connect with a low kick. Lavoie hits a jab and also hits a left hand. The two combatants meet in the centre and start to strike. See, I don't know really what's the best way to broadcast this, whether it's just a case of me clicking through for you guys, or me just kind of picking up on the odd bits like I'm doing. Anyway, I'm going to carry on with it now because I'm taking away from the fight. So Windsor is landing a few more harder strikes now, so if not given the other two, they should definitely be giving him this round. Okay, both fighters step into strike. Windsor hits a jab. Looks like he's starting to miss a few though of his key strikes. Lavoie is off target with the jab, but lands a low kick. Yes, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other really. Lavoie clinches up looking shattered. But Windsor goes for the takedown. Windsor has the takedown. That's going to be big for him. Gets side control. Looks for an arm triangle. Oh, has he got out of it? No. Lavoie is able to escape the arm triangle. Nearly close to a finish there for the Bigfoot Peter Windsor. Lavoie's looking absolutely knackered. He's blowing out his arse. Windsor's looking to get the mount. He can't mount him this time, and that's where it's going to win. That's definitely a round for Windsor, and I still think that Windsor should get this 2 rounds to 1. We'll have to see where the judges go with this. 29-28 Lavoie. 29-28 Windsor, so it's all coming down to the third judge, who gives it to Windsor. A split decision, not the best performance by either gentleman, but I think a fair result. I think the right winner was chosen there. Puts Benoit Lavoie very close to the cutting block. Peter Windsor manages to keep his space on the roster for now. And he was the slight favourite going into this at -160. So it was a decent fight for the opener on the prelims. That's not too bad. Move on now to a match I don't think will go the duration, where we see John the Ripper Rivero take on Derek Smashmouth South. Right. Team Gorshin against War Dogs. John Rivero is the heavy favourite in this one. We'll have to see how it plays out. Okay. So Rivero's already got him in a clinch. Looks like Rivero might be going for more of a smothering approach. Rivero goes for a suplex. But no, South is too alert to the danger. But he's persistent, keeps going back for the grapple. That's the end of the round. It wasn't the most exciting, but Rivero, you'd have to agree, would get that there. And he does on the judges' scorecards, or at least on the Blur Cat scorecards. Okay, so Rivero was equal to a defensive jab hits from Rivero. South is starting to open up, but he's missing his key strikes. I think he knows that Rivero might not be able to take him down. Oh, Rivero gets knocked down by a vicious right cross from Smashmouth South, and he tries to pounce on the opportunity. He starts to rain down the punches. Big right hands, but Rivero is able to cover up. Looking to catch his breath. South just throws a couple to the body. Doesn't want to wear himself out. Okay, now Rivero's trying to transition to guard. This is actually Rivero's best position to try and get a submission in this game. This match. South is still on top though, and he's blocking Rivero's attempts at pulling guard. Okay. The ref might eventually pull this one back to its feet before the round ends. Still. Okay, Rivero manages to get South in half guard. Or half mount, depending on how you want to look at it. South pounds away. But Rivero's managing to stay in there. That's definitely going to be a round for South, so it's 1-1. And it comes into the deciding third round. Here we go. So Rivero again going for the clinch. And he's looking for a suplex again on South. And he gets a belly-to-belly suplex, and South has to pull guard off it. Rivero going back to his smothering approach, but he's looking to pass the guard now into side control. He gets it. Going for mounts, and he gets mounts. Now, Rivero's trying to pound out South. South is taking several big blows. And he turns away and gives up his back. Big right hands, powerful shots. Rivero now going for the rear naked choke. Will he get it? And he does. Rivero taps out Derek Smashmouth South in quite an exciting fight, considering the first round was very boring. The Puerto Rican native takes his record to 13-5, while Derek South slips to 14-6. And Rivero was the favourite going in. I thought South actually might catch him like he did in the second round and finish him off, but Rivero proved that he was no pushover here, and he walks away with a submission. And it's only rated as decent. I think it was a little bit better than that, if truth be told. Rear naked choke submission. Okay, so now we go on to Tony the Spider McCall taking on Stormin Norman Pike. Okay, let's have a look, see how this goes. McCall doesn't touch gloves. Ooh, interesting. Pike goes for a takedown right away, but it's unsuccessful. McCall sprawls to block it. Now they're trading in the centre. McCall lands with a jab. Pike can't quite hit with his strikes. Neither are landing anything at the moment. Pike does manage to hit a left hand though. McCall lands a jab, but again missing the big killer blows. Pike's starting to tee off though, the Army Combatives proponent against the kickboxer. You would think Norman Pike would get the win in this fight, but you know, anything can happen in mixed martial arts. Right, McCall starting to try and fire off, but not getting anything really. They're both hitting as much as they're missing. It's quite even up to this point. Okay, they're probably going to give Pike that round, I would have thought. Okay, they give it to McCall. There you go. Shows how much I know, apparently. Okay, now McCall's looking a bit more confident and he wants to start throwing bombs. And Pike seems to be a little bit caught in the headlights there. He's a bit more tentative. And McCall's starting to land. But Pike shoots in for the takedown and gets it. McCall has to pull guard. Pike passes to side control with ease. Now he's going for an armbar. Will he get it? McCall manages to fight it off for now. Tries to transition to guard. He's not going to get there. Pike tries to ensnare him again in the armbar. And McCall might have his arm hyperextended. Nope, Pike isn't able to finish it. McCall pops his arm free. He still gets side control out of it though. Pike looking to transition, or stopping McCall from transitioning to guard. Now he's trying to go for mount. He's got mount. 2.5 minutes left. He's got time. Now he goes for an armbar again from a better position. Manages to get it. That's the second submission in a row. Norman Pike looked a little bit outclassed at certain points, but was able to get the death blow, and at the end he gets the finish. He gets the submission. He walks out the winner, and he moves his record on to 18-6, whereas Tony the Spider McCall falls to 33-13, and that might be the last outing we see for the Spider. Norman Pike walks away from a fantastic bout, allegedly, so that looks like it might be given the award of the night for that achievement. We'll move on now to H.M. Menzel against the Cleveland Stormer Moss Gilbert. Heavy favourite H.M. Menzel if you look at the betting line. Okay, let's see how things go. Start with a touch of gloves, not like Tony McCall in his last fight. Although Gilbert starts striking, the boxer taking on the grappler. I would think H.M. Menzel would get this, but Moss Gilbert seems to be doing okay at the moment, but Menzel's got him in the clinch. Takes him down to the ground with a belly-to-belly suplex and gets side control. Goes for an arm triangle, and it's an early finish. Within 1 minute, H.M. Menzel takes out Moss Gilbert. Moss Gilbert's record now falls to 7-3, and H.M. Menzel goes to 15-5. Very quick win there for the Quebecian. Menzel wants to take on Sean Morrison in the future. Now that's a big claim. Sean Morrison is one of the highest ranked lightweights in this game. Definitely in Gamma as well. So H.M. Menzel will have to win a couple of fights there before he gets to Sean Morrison's level, I think. But, you know, putting away whoever you put in front of him, that's a good way about going about it. A good way about going about it. Yeah, sounds alright. It's okay in my book. Okay, and the match got a good rating. It's too quick, really, to judge too much about it, to be honest. I'll move on now to the last of the preliminary fights. I would like to have seen this on the main card, but, you know, I thought I'd have an even number of main card and undercard, or preliminary fights. So Ashley the Tiger Ballard against the Mac Attack PT Mac. Okay. I'd have to favour the betting odds as well. I think Mac Attack might be too much here for the Tiger. They touch gloves. They go to engage. Mac's already starting to tee off a little bit early on. Both have got knockout ability though. Standing and trading. I think that's the way this fight's going to go for the most part. Come together and strike. Ballard lands a couple of things. Mac lands a couple of things. It's going to be who really hits the powerful blows in this fight, I think. Mac shoots in for a takedown to really go against the proceeding. No, Ballard almost manages to stop it, but he's pushed up against the cage. Mac's now going for a trip takedown, and Ballard is unable to stop it. He's got his legs trapped under Mac and pressed against the cage. Now Mac is going to try and use that to put a guillotine choke on. Ballard isn't tapping out. He's caught in it. It's not quite fully applied though. And the hold is released. Hopefully Mac hasn't gassed his arms out in the process of that. Manitobian? We'll go with that. Mac begins to try and pass the guard, and he gets to side control. That's where Mac was always going to have the advantage. He's got a bit of a better rounded game, although he does like to slug it out with a few people. A bit like your Jerry Bogdanovich. Not saying I've hired him. I'm not saying I've not hired him. But anyway, Mac holds Ballard in position with side control and hits a knee to the ribs. Now he's going for a Kimura. He's in the Kimura. Oh, the round ends just before Ballard has to tap out. That could have been a solid victory for PT Mac there, but Ballard learns to survive, or lives to fight another day, or another round at the very least. Mac was all over that round, definitely. Now he's grabbed Ballard straight away in the round 2. Mac picks him up, smashes him down into side control, and he's going for an armbar straight away. Ballard blocks it. He thinks he might get the win with the submission here, and I don't blame him. Ballard is blocking the transitions. Now Mac tries to get him into the Kimura again. He gets the Kimura this time, twists the arm backwards, and Ballard has to tap the mat. Ballard now falls to 13-2, and PT Mac takes his record to 12-4. PT Mac takes the submission. Fantastic bout. I preferred, I'm not going to lie, I preferred reading that to another bout that got rated that earlier in the card, but we'll have to see how I feel at the end of the show, who I want to give the awards to. And that's the halfway point. We're now onto the main portion of the show, the pay-per-view event itself, where we'll start with Seb Moorhead against Hanley the Great White Poulter in the super heavyweight division. Bit of an international flavour for this. We've got a Canadian taking on an Aussie. I have no preference with who wins this. Okay, so Carl Chris will be in charge. The judges are at ringside, and let's go. Moorhead going for a few strikes, but Poulter comes in and closes it down. Now, this is going to be interesting. I don't know who I'd favour. I guess I would favour Poulter in this outing, but again, anything can happen. Okay, Poulter tries to push him up against the cage. He does it. Going for a couple. He's going for, dirty boxing more than anything. He seems content to be, held up against, he doesn't seem to content to be held up there, but that's what Poulter's going to be doing, and I don't think Moorhead will be able to necessarily stop it. But the ref is able to stop it for him, brings them back to the centre. Striking, he's got the length. I mean, they're both 6'7", they're no small fry. And in fact, Moorhead is the smaller of the two combatants in this fight. And that's probably why Poulter's being able to muscle him around a little bit more. Poulter goes for a trip takedown and gets it. Moorhead is going to be in trouble, but that brings it to the end of the round. Poulter's the clear winner of that round. Round 2 begins. Poulter gets in close. Moorhead catches him with or gets caught with a couple of nice shots. Poulter again going for the dirty boxing. Continues this tactic. Has him against the cage. Continuing to smother him. The referee brings them back to the centre with 1 minute left to go in the round. Poulter, though, closes him down right away before Moorhead can get the chance to really fire off any offence. Right, okay, so that's going to be another boring round to Poulter, 10-9. He's not going to gain much popularity from these performances, but again, at the end of the day, if you're getting the wins, you're getting the wins, aren't you? Moorhead's down by 2 rounds by the Blur Cat scorecards, I have to agree with them. If Moorhead can fire off, though, let's not rule out an unexpected finish here. Okay, Moorhead's really trying to go for a bit more here, but Poulter manages to get in close and tries to take Moorhead down, and Moorhead can do little about it. Poulter's got the back of Moorhead, but he does stop him from getting the hooks in. Now, without the hooks, Poulter's going for a rear naked choke, and he gets it. That shows how lacking Seb Moorhead's ground game is. Poulter, without the hooks from back control, is able to tap him out with a rear naked choke. Not the prettiest of fights, but it's a finish as well. So Poulter did well. He didn't just, coast away to victory. He managed to take his opponent down and get the finish. Quite a few submissions. We haven't had any knockouts as of yet. But will things change? Now we have Jack Humphries taking on Magnum David Allen. Welterweight clash. Carl Crisp again in charge. And let's get underway. Start with a touch of gloves. Gloves? Don't know what gloves are. They probably shouldn't be touching them, but they touch gloves at least. Allen scores with a jab. The betting line has Jack Humphries as being a significant favourite in this, and I think I'd have to agree with that. Humphries closes down with the wrestling. I mean, they're both grapplers by trade. It looks like Allen was more willing to stand up and strike, but he might not have that opportunity now that Humphries has got his paws on him, or his gloves, depending on what I feel like saying at the time. Okay, so Allen just getting caught here, a bit like how Poulter had Moorhead in the previous fight. Humphries muscles Allen up against the cage. Humphries is just going to keep him there, I think, for the duration of the round. Peppering him with the occasional punch whilst keeping him up against the cage. And that's going to bring us to an end of the round. So Humphries just about, but not the most entertaining. Move on to round 2. Humphries again closes him in before Allen can get anything off on the feet. Humphries has him against the cage. Allen looks like he's actually able to turn it round now. He's got Humphries up against the cage, and he decides to break it. That might be his best chance to get off some strikes and try and hurt Humphries on the feet. Humphries again though is unwilling to give up on that, and whilst he takes a few shots, he does close Allen down and press him back up against the cage. But well, tries to press him up against the cage. Allen is having none of it until this time. Now he's pressed up against the cage. Pins Allen up against the cage and hits a couple of nice right hands. Again, it's very much the dirty boxing formula. Humphries tries to keep him up against the cage with wrestling. Allen reverses it so that he is the one in control. Allen steps back to achieve some separation from Humphries. A fast approach allows Humphries to pull Allen into a clinch. Time expires in the end of round 2. Boring again, but it goes to Humphries. Allen's in the hole on this one. Both fighters come in and strike. He hits Humphries with a hard cross, but Humphries still isn't, going down. Although Allen's starting to move in a bit more confidently now. Hits him again with a right cross. Humphries grabs Allen before he can take any more damage and presses him up against the cage. And he's going to be trapped there, I think, until the ref does something about this. Yep, the referee brings them out with 1 minute and 20 seconds left to go. Allen hits a jab but misses a right hand. Humphries isn't hitting anything. Humphries grabs him again. Bit of dirty boxing. And that's going to bring us to the end of the fight. Yeah, I guess you could argue that maybe Allen could have won the last round. He didn't outshine Humphries, but Humphries again was the one pushing. Well, he wasn't pushing the pace. He was pushing Allen up against the cage, and I think that's going to lead to a unanimous decision victory for Mr. Jack Humphries here. 30-27. Jack Humphries, that's not going to win fight of the night. Humphries says he wants to take on Josh Alderizio next. Bold. Very bold. Maybe I'll have to make that happen. See, the one thing I do with WMMA4 is, I know they say styles make fights, but I do it on merit. So if people are winning, I'm not going to deliberately try and put, if there are two wrestlers that are absolutely dominating the same division, I'm not going to deliberately try and avoid putting them together because they are two of the best. So let's see who's going to win out of that. Might not make for the most entertaining read, but I like to see the best go up against the best. Don't know why I hit down. I hit down on the keyboard there. It served no purpose. Okay. Now we have the Executioner Martin DeVry taking on Dexter D-Man Darling. DeVry Kung Fu against Ground and Pound. Both coming off losses, I believe. Leo Bian is the referee for this encounter. The fight begins. DeVry attacks with strikes. They're both going to be looking to throw heavy bombs, I think, in this. Darling's looking to go for a takedown, though. He can't quite get DeVry down. Although he's going to keep trying, and he does get him down at the second time of asking. Gets him in side control, hitting him with a knee in the ribs. Another knee in the ribs. And now he's just going to try and punch him out. But DeVry, ever the resilient warrior, 33 years of age, won't just sit there and take it. He's trying to fight for position. But DeVry can't stop Darling's ground game, and he does have to give up the mount. And now Darling's starting to pound away. Not landing all the cleanest of blows, though. Although, now, he might be in trouble. DeVry's taking a lot of punishment here. But now he's starting to manage to... I think Darling might be tiring himself out a little bit. And that brings us to the end of the round. So DeVry is lucky, you'd say, to get out of this round alive. Darling definitely the winner of that, well, at least that stanza of the fight. Now round 2. DeVry attacks with strikes. But Darling is hitting with counter strikes. Although he hits him with a scything low kick to the legs, that might be a good idea. Take the vertical base away from Darling. Starting to miss a bit now. Darling nails a vicious left cross, and down goes DeVry. He falls down, he's not out. But Darling looks to capitalise and pounces on the opportunity. But DeVry is able to kind of manoeuvre his way out. He's not taking as much punishment as you'd expect him to, given that punch he just took from Darling in the standing position. Darling jumps to mount. Well, the scramble starts immediately. Okay, Darling manages to get back on his feet with DeVry, pushes him back up against the cage. He's going to try and smother him a little bit here. Nice short uppercut. There we go. Nice short uppercut against the cage. Now he's got an elbow to the face, DeVry. DeVry gets caught with a knee to the side of the stomach. Takes a knee strike just above the hip. Darling's now backed against the cage though. DeVry is looking to break up and take some strikes. Well, not take some strikes, give some strikes more accurately. They engage in the centre, but Darling hits a right hand. DeVry uses the left jab, but can't hit the right cross. We're into the final minute of the round now. They stand and trade in the centre of the cage, but neither fighter gives or takes any real damage. Darling comes forward with an attack. DeVry lands 2 left hands in the exchange. Darling connects with a jab, but his big left hand follow-up misses. Darling comes forward and the 2 fighters exchange strikes. DeVry fires off a counter jab, but doesn't connect. Darling lands a right jab, but his big left hand follow-up misses. Darling attacks with strikes. DeVry fires off a counter jab. Darling throws a quick 1-2, but doesn't land either blow. Time expires and we come to the end of round 2. I noticed I started calling all the commentary on that, so I might try it for the next round, see how it goes. You guys have to let me know, though, in the bottom what you prefer. Whether you just like me clicking through and then making the occasional comment, or if you want me to read everything and kind of get caught up in the moment. You're cool. That was a fun round to watch. Thank you. It was a fun round to read. Darling again gets that round, 10-9 on the Blurcat scorecards, and they think DeVry is going to really have to force the issue here. There's the bell for the start of the final round. They stand and trade in the centre of the cage, but neither fighter can land a good shot. Darling steps forward and the striking exchange begins. DeVry throws a counter jab but misses. Darling uses a right jab but misses with a vicious left hand. The 2 fighters engage. Darling hits a right jab and also lands a nice left hook. DeVry is off target with a left jab and also misses a right hook. There's an exchange of strikes at relatively close range, but nothing really lands. Darling comes forward and the 2 fighters start trading blows. DeVry lands a left hand in the exchange. Darling hits a right jab and then hits a nice straight left that lands hard. They exchange strikes, but nothing really gets through. We're now at the halfway point of this round. The 2 fighters engage. Darling scores with a jab and also connects cleanly with the left hand. DeVry's off target with 2 jabs and also misses with a roundhouse kick to the body. DeVry backs off, looking extremely dazed. That last shot may have knocked him loopy. Darling pounces and smashes DeVry with a big left hand. Down he goes. That's a knockdown, people. Darling starts pounding away on DeVry, looking to finish him off. Darling starts unloading with massive lefts and DeVry is getting pasted. The referee jumps in and saves DeVry from taking any more shots. Maybe he should have done that at the end of round 1, but Martin DeVry hung in there tough until the 3rd minute of the 3rd round, in fact. Or the 4th minute of the... 4th minute? No, I was right the first time. And that will be all she wrote. Dexter D-Man Darling moves his record to 19-5-1, while Martin DeVry falls to 17-8. Takes the win by TKO. That's the first official stoppage through punches that we've seen on this card, and it gets a great reaction. Now we have the co-main event of the evening. Kendall the Gambler Tracy fights Anthony Livewire Latusier in the Gamma Light Heavyweight division. Leo Behan is the referee. Judges are cage side, and we're underway. Letizia comes forward and strikes. Tracy hits a jab in the exchange. Letizia connects with a jab but misses with a vicious right hand. Tracy takes a few weak strikes, but that's not enough to prevent him closing the distance and grappling. Tracy hits Letizia with some short strikes to the side of the head while grappling. Tracy hits Letizia with a knee strike to the body as they grapple. Tracy uses dirty boxing and gets in a few crisp punches on Letizia as they grapple. Letizia gets caught with a couple of nice short punches as Tracy uses his dirty boxing to inflict some punishment. Tracy tries to wrestle Letizia backward and up against the cage and achieves it, pinning Letizia to the cage. Tracy smothers Letizia against the cage, then hits him with a knee strike to the ribs. Still smothering him against the cage, hits another knee strike to the stomach this time. And Letizia is trapped against the cage and is being basically smothered there. They're both kind of throwing pity-patty punches, nothing's really landing, and that's how time expires, and Tracy is arguably winning this fight. Here we go, round 2. Tracy comes in looking for a takedown right off the bat. Letizia is able to partially defend it, but ends up hopping whilst Tracy holds onto the other leg, and Tracy instead forces Letizia up against the cage. Now Tracy is going for the smothering approach here, trying to wrestle him to the ground now, and he gets it. Letizia pulls half guard. Tracy throws a couple of punches. Tracy throws a couple of punches, keeping Letizia guessing, but they aren't thrown with any great force. Punches down at Letizia, but they're easily taken on the gloves. Unloads with some right hands, but Letizia deals with them comfortably. Now Letizia is trying to scramble, but Tracy is able to get side control out of it. Now Tracy's in a really dominant position, starts pounding away, but Letizia calmly deals with it. And Letizia might end up finishing on his back in this round, it looks like. Although he does initiate a scramble, and Letizia ends up in half guard. Now he's in a dominant position, but only 10 seconds left to go, and that's how it's going to end. Tracy's going to be 2-0 up here. Letizia really needs to get a knockout here to get this win. Although a knockout for either of them would win it for them, wouldn't it? Right, the final bell begins. The final bell begins, the final round begins. Standing and trading in the centre. Letizia attacks with strikes. Tracy throws a counter jab but misses. Letizia can't connect with a jab but then lands a right hand. Forcing an exchange of strikes. Tracy isn't really able to hit anything. He does have boxing in his repertoire, but Letizia you'd imagine to be the crisper striker. Letizia comes forward and strikes, but I think Tracy might be able to see this out. Tracy has Letizia against the cage, glancing elbow strike, caught with a knee, and I think this is how it's going to end, people. Smothered against the cage. Letizia is still trapped against the cage, and that's how it's going to finish. Argue either way on that, but Tracy, I'm not going to dispute, is the won that fight. All judges give it to Kendall Tracy. Winner by unanimous decision. Average fight for a co-main event. Let's hope that the main event, the rematch between James Foster, the king of ground and pound, and the Tim. We'll just call him the Tim now. Yeah, we'll go to the main event. And this is what we're all here for, boys and girls. The king of ground and pound, James Foster, 34 years of age, 6'2", 222 pounds, from Aurora, Illinois. Pro record of 35 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, taking on the Tower of Power, Tim Boyer, 35 years of age, 6'7", 265 pounds, from Toronto, Canada, with a pro record of 26 wins, 4 losses, 2 draws. And this is what we've been waiting for. The Gamma heavyweight title is on the line. Two fighters engage. Boyer hits a couple of jabs. Foster scores with the jab. I would assume that Foster would be looking to take Boyer down and pound him out, and you'd think Boyer would be looking to catch Foster as he's coming in. Foster hits a pair of jabs. Boyer's able to strike at distance at the moment. Foster hits 2 left hands on the counter. Boyer connects with a jab, but doesn't hit the body kick follow-up. They stand and trade, but all of the shots are either off target or safely dealt with. We're now at the halfway point of the round. Boyer attacks with strikes. A jab is wide from Boyer, but then catches Foster with a right hook. Showing great timing, Foster comes in fast and looks for a takedown. The takedown is completed. Boyer's on his back and pulls guard. Now Foster's going for a smothering approach. He's going to try and pass now. Gets into side control with relative ease. Looks to throw a couple punches while he plans ahead. Blocks the attempt to pull guard. Inside control, he's looking to get to mount, and he has mount, but that's going to be where the round ends. Boyer got some good strikes in there, but Foster did look the more dangerous towards the end of the round. I would agree that Foster probably should get that. And we move into round 2. Foster hits a couple jabs. Boyer lands a left jab, but Foster dodges a big right head kick follow-up. Boyer's initiating, which is what he needs to do. He can't risk that Foster will come in slow enough to catch him. A jab lands from Boyer, but Foster dodges a big right head kick follow-up. Boyer forcing an exchange of strikes. 2 counter left hands from Foster land. Now Boyer looks like he might be getting a bit reckless with his attempts here. Foster hits a jab in the exchange. A 1-2 from Boyer fails to land. A quick exchange of strikes doesn't lead to anything. Moving into the second half of this round. Foster gets hit with the beauty of a straight right though, and Boyer's starting to come in a bit more confident. Again hits Foster with the hard punch. This might be Boyer's round here. He's hitting Foster almost at will now. But Foster manages to push Boyer up against the cage. I think it might be a bit too little too late in this stanza. That's the end of round 2. Foster 10-9, apparently. Foster up 2 rounds to 0. Not sure if I agree with that, but okay. Back underway. Boyer's looking confident knowing that his strikes are landing. Hits a left hand, Boyer. But he's missing with the kicks. Foster's now got him in his grip though. And has him up against the cage. Stomps down hard on the foot. Tries to press him up against the cage, keeps him there. That's where I think Foster might try and just ride out this round. Referee brings them back to the centre though. Boyer catches him with a high right kick as well as a left jab. Foster does hit a quick jab though. Boyer hits another head kick. It's a bit more even. I thought Foster might have seen this fight out by now. Foster grabs him, pushes him up against the cage, and he does. Boyer wrestles him out of that position, and now he's got Foster with his back against the cage. And I've got to think that that's going to be Boyer's round there. But again, they give it to Foster. They're definitely favouring the grappling techniques here, but Boyer's hitting head kicks at the end of the day. So that's, as far for my money, that's closest to ending the fight than anything. But, you know, Boyer's running out of rounds. They say he's 3 rounds down. I think you could argue that it's 2-1 Foster or maybe even 2-1 Boyer at this point. Foster quickly grabs him though. Pushes him. No, Boyer's able to avoid being pushed up against the cage on this occasion. Really stumbling over my words here. Apologise. Foster's still trying to push him up against the cage. Now he's got him up against the cage. Exchange punches for about half a minute. Referee brings them back to the centre. Foster now gets caught with a leg kick, but Foster then pulls him into a clinch, and now he's going for a takedown. It's been a while, and he gets it right away. You'd think he'd be going for this game plan a bit more than he has been. He's been trying to initiate, but Boyer's been quicker to the punch, which is quite remarkable at 35 years of age. But then again, James Foster is 34. Boyer's trapped on the ground at the moment. And that's where the round's going to end. We're going to the 5th and final round in this championship fight. I agree that Foster won that round. I would have it as 2-2 personally. Boyer realistically needs to, well, 2-2 or 3-1, I guess, for Foster. But anyway, I digress. Foster hits a tentative left hand. Foster grabs Boyer. He's looking to push him up against the cage. He has him up against the cage. This might be Boyer's last opportunity going out the window here. Foster hits Boyer with a nice short uppercut. Still trapped against the cage. Referee brings him back to the centre. 52 seconds. What can you do, Boyer? Foster moves in fast and grapples with his opponent. Pushes him back up against the cage. He does, and that's going to be where the fight ends. That's a bit of a shame. I thought we might get a TKO or knockout in the main event, but you know you can't have winners throughout the card. We did have some good fights here. Here come the official scores: 50-45, 48-47, 49-46. The king of ground and pound, James Foster, wins by unanimous decision, pushing his record to 36 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, whereas Tim Boyer falls to 26 wins, 5 losses. I couldn't think of 4 plus 1 there, that's embarrassing, and 2 draws. So we retain, or the heavyweight champion of Gamma retains his title and looks to fight another day. He's probably going to want quite a lot of time off after that. Gets a decent rating. And now we're going to go to the end of the show, so we can see exactly how well or how badly we did. So it's the week 4 of January 2001, the attendance 3,231 people with a gate of $524,229, critical rating of 61%, commercial rating of 81%, and it's broadcast on USA Free Choice and made $3.5 million off pay-per-view. So, we're going to close this now. It increased our popularity by 3.6% across the USA. That's great. And now we get to pick the Fight Awards. Right, let me just quickly refresh my memory, because I'm pretty sure there was a damn good one on the undercard. Actually, no, I don't want to give Hanley Poulter the submission bonus there. I think John Rivero should get the submission of the night award, purely because he got knocked on his ass in the second round and came back to win. Poulter was always in control of that fight when he won, so for that reason and that reason alone, I'm going to give it to John Rivero. And I'm happy to have Dexter Darling and Martin DeVry get stoppage of the night, because, you know, it was the only one that did go by TKO, and I think they did deserve fight of the night as well. Each of those individuals will be getting $5,000 for their trouble. And we'll close that. I'm happy with those decisions. So we can see the highest earners of the night was James Foster with $114,000, Martin DeVry second with $23,000. The lowest earner of the entire card was Benoit Lavoie with $600, and he lost as well, so that's quite embarrassing. So, based on the expenditure, $236,000 for the fighters, $24,000 for the drugs test. Production nearly cost $100,000, but with the pay-per-view money, we make a profit of $3.7 million from that one fight card, which basically means I can spend as much money as I like on these other people. Also, we have Alpha 1 Warriors of the Ring 1 with Carlos Nogueira, which is another render you might not have seen before. That's one of mine. I don't want to see any of those fights. I'll skip it and see what happens. I might pick up some of their fighters if they become available, actually, but I'll do that off camera. So that brings us to the end of Gamma 40, Foster versus Boyer 2. Hopefully you like the layout. Like I said, this is new to me. I don't believe I've seen too many people do WMMA4 content on YouTube where they've covered the fight cards. Let me know if you like my pattern and style of, you know, presentation. Any, you know, constructive criticism I'm willing to take on board and take into consideration for the next WMMA4 video I do. Like I said, the next video will be Gamma 41. At the moment, assuming no injuries take place, it will be Lawrence Herringbone taking on... now that's the question. Who's he taking on? Marlon John, I believe he is, defending his light heavyweight title. We'll skip this Sigma card. Like I said, just something different. Again, this probably won't be too much of a regular series. It might, you know, might get a bit more attention as I go along. Depends on my mood. See what I feel like on the day. Hope you have liked it. If you have liked the video, please do hit like and subscribe down below. That would be fantastic. Until I see you next time, guys, I'll see you around.
Shut up and sit down.